What things have you learned about a friend that suddenly made you despise them? I have a severe stutter, and it's always hard for me to make friends because of it. Luckily, I had a really good friend. She never got impatient or mocked me, right? Wrong. I'm normally very quiet, and when in a group of people, it's easy for people to forget I'm there. My friend, we'll call her Julie, had a small get together at her house. During dinner, a conversation was going on, and someone asked my opinion on some random topic, and I gave it, despite my stutter making it hard for me to say what I wanted. Later in the evening, I was sitting in the living room, sipping my scotch while Julie and some other guests were mingling in the kitchen. Someone casually mentions me in conversation, and I hear Julie say, "Ugh, why did you ask her that question? I can't stand it when she stutters everything. Like, just shut up and let the normal people talk." I sat there and listened to them laugh and make Porky Pig jokes and grew more and more hurt and angry. Someone said something alluding to my stutter, meaning I was less intelligent, and how Julie was such a good person for tolerating me. I got up, walked into the kitchen, and they stood there with a look of horror on their faces. Julie softly said, "Oh God, I thought you left." I left immediately and haven't spoken to her since. Damn, that's rough and really messed up. I've dropped a lot of quote-unquote friends because I overheard them talking about me too. I hope you're over them because, yeah, just let them go. Story 2. I have a friend who is known to be stingy. You can't split a bill with her at a restaurant because any way you do it, it's wrong. She bought her girlfriend a pair of sunglasses, and when she gave them to her, she said, "I only got you these because they're buy one, get one free, and I got one for myself. Don't ask me why they're still together." She has a well-paying job, a car, her parents paid for college. There is no absolute necessary reason for her to be this way. She just is. The real kicker where I discovered how much of a real piece of crap she is was the day I found out that, for her entire college career, she scammed her parents into both paying for her apartment so she could pocket the extra money. Her parents are divorced. She would call her mom up and ask for that month's rent money plus some other expenses. Then she'd call her dad and do the same exact thing. She knew they did not communicate with each other about her college expenses because she would ask when she needed money. Her parents are financially sound, but not rich by any means, but they provide for their family. I have no respect for that friend anymore. Side story, her mom sent her a Hallmark card for Halloween with a nice note, and her exact words after reading it were, "I'm gonna have to call her, there's no money in this card." Story 3. My husband and I went out with my brother-in-law and his wife and another friend to a Japanese teppanyaki restaurant. We started the meal with a huge platter of sushi, about $20 by itself, and then enjoyed the regular grilled meal with the flaming onion volcano, the egg flip, etc. At the end of the meal, the server brings a bill and we all look at it to start figuring out who owes what. I noticed that the sushi platter is not listed on the bill and mentioned that we should let the server know. My sister-in-law gets really mad at this, saying that if the server made the mistake, then he should have to deal with it and we should enjoy our free sushi. When I was younger, though, I had worked as a waitress and we always had to pay for our mistakes or complaints. If this had been a small-priced item, I might not have worried about it much, but $20 off a server's tips and wages seemed like a lot to me. So my husband and I reminded the server about the sushi. He was glad to know and went off to have the bill retotaled. My sister-in-law was pissed and basically told us we would have to pay their share. So the owner and manager then comes to our table. He's heard that we were very helpful to our server, who happened to be his nephew on his first night. To thank us for being so considerate, there's no charge for the sushi, and he offers us all a round of drinks on him. At this news, while we're all thanking him, my sister-in-law pipes up, "Oh, it was nothing. We're just happy to help out." She didn't say another word as she drank her free martini. Honesty is always the best policy, as they say. Story 4. A guy I know, married once, wife cheated on him early on and they got divorced. A few years pass, he's married again and he's very successful in life. Runs a company, has a big house, nice cars, and, all the good things. Except his second wife has become a total witch. He develops a drinking problem because, in addition to being a total witch and a raging alcoholic herself, she's cut him off on intimacy because they already have kids. Then, of course, come to find out, she's cheating on him. After years of grief with his own drinking, family help, and rehab, he sobers up and divorces her. An old flame, the one that got away 30 years ago, comes back into his life and they get married. All seems well and good, and he's finally happy. Hooray for them. A few years later, though, he starts drinking again and he starts cheating on his wife. Claims she's not an equal partner because he's rich and successful and she's just a school teacher. A-hole is now divorced again. The saddest part of that, though, is that the guy is my brother. The old flame was a family friend and my sister's BFF. Story 5. I can't believe it took me so long to realize, but one of my good friends growing up, I can't stand to go out to eat with him because he acts like an entitled jerk to the waitstaff before they even have a chance to talk. He does stuff like assuming the server is stupid and explains how to do their job to them before they even start. We'll make fun of them over petty things, and then even if the service is good, he'll still lecture them on how to serve properly. It's so embarrassing, and I finally figured out where he got it from. His dad. My parents and I ate with his dad about a year ago, and he did the same exact routine. It really disappoints me that, damn, there's going to be multiple generations of crappy patrons in that family. It really does make cringe thinking out of their families that they're going to look like jerks every time they dine out, and the embarrassment their wives face. In conclusion, never be a jerk to your server. Not only is it rude to them, but embarrasses the crap out of normal diners who made the mistake of inviting you out to eat. Story 6. I had this friend in high school that I used to hang out with a lot during my sophomore year. We would walk around, have long conversations, and I thought of him as one of my closest friends. After sophomore year, we stopped hanging out as often. I attributed this to just a changing of our schedules and different things that we were each doing after school, stuff like that. We still talked when we saw each other and hung out occasionally. About halfway through senior year, I was having lunch with him at a Chinese restaurant and talking about times past. I mentioned how we didn't hang out as much as we used to, and that was a shame. To this, he replied, "Well, yeah, I thought that I should hang out with fewer brown people." I was actually stricken completely dumb when I heard this. By the way, I'm Sri Lankan. I was with another friend at the time, an actual, not secretly racist friend, who said, "Are you serious?" To which the person in question replied, "I wanted to hang out with popular kids and I thought I was pigeonholing myself by hanging out with brown people." Needless to say, I hated him after that. It is also worth noting that my school did not operate by the twisted racial standards of social interaction that he had concocted in his head. Ironically, he had not grown closer to the group of kids in question, whereas I had, and I'm still friends with a lot of them to this day. What did you order? Rice or noodles? Chicken, beef, pork, tofu? Was it tasty, cooked to your satisfaction, and reasonably priced? What kind of car did you drive there and back? Was it a four-door? How's the gas mileage, or did you maybe use public transport? What was the position of Venus during all of this? This story has a lot of holes in it. Story 7. This reminded me of an old friend. She appeared to be fine, mentally normal, just a little weird, but who isn't? She was dating this Mexican illegal guy in our college town. Nice guy, quiet, good dad to his kid. One day, he just takes off, told everyone he was running away and don't try to come after him. She's distraught, as expected, and we all try to support her. The next day, it turns weird. She introduces her plan of getting him to come back. She convinced a random pregnant woman to pee on a pregnancy test to make it positive. She's texted him a picture of the random test saying she's pregnant and he should come back. He didn't reply, so she decides to literally drive up the East Coast looking for him. The entire East Coast, quits work and school and just goes. Well, we're still in contact with her via text and such when his family contacts one of our friends. Apparently, he called them and begged them not to tell her where he is. Why? Because she'd been physically abusing him for the last 2 years, and when he tried to break up with her, she tried to get him deported. The paperwork was taking too long, so she kidnapped his 2-year-old daughter and held her hostage until he could sneak her out and take her to a friend's house. We called up the friend, she denied the whole thing, and then demanded to know where he was so she could go convince him they should stay together. We said we didn't know, we really didn't, and she told us we were terrible friends and when she got back to town she would ruin us and kill our pets. That was when we called the police. You can figure out the rest. Story 8. Not despise, but definitely lose any interest in continuing the friendship. I had a coworker who I did not get along with, long story, so he got moved to another of our locations. One night I get a random call from some guy saying he's responding to the ad on Craigslist. That's funny. I don't remember placing any ad. The guy's kind of scared, but tells me it was from the M4M section. He tells me the title of the ad, so I look it up. Sure enough, there's a M4M ad with my Facebook picture on it and my cell phone number. I contact CL and tell them to take it down. The number of people I've had real problems with in my life can be counted on my fingers, and the only person petty, stupid, and recent enough was this guy. I asked him and he played dumb. This would happen every so often for a while. I would get pissed, but he would deny it. I'd let the people calling know that I was flattered, but no dice, good luck in your search. The last time I finally got CL to track the IP address. This last ad was coming from a computer in New Zealand, and wow, what a coincidence. Guess who was in New Zealand at the time? The only person I know who would possibly be in New Zealand. I tell my coworker at the other location about it and he goes, yeah, he told us about that. How you been? If it was some random dude I worked with, that would probably tick me off. If a friend did it, I think it would be funny at first but would get annoying pretty easily. But hey, since you are halfway through the video, please be a good friend to the channel by hitting that like button and subscribing. It really does help me out. Story 9. I had a friend who drank a lot. In his younger years, he could pull off the party drunk pretty successfully. As he got older, his drinking got really out of control. He was arrested for a couple DUIs and for being drunk and disorderly in public. He was pretty much drinking all day. He was a master of deceiving himself and trying to do so with others, minimizing his alcohol use. He had failed with AA. He joined Lifering and Rational Recovery, the top 2 non-12-step groups for alcoholism. He liked them so much he told everyone he was a recovered alcoholic and had been sober for years. He ended up being the leader for both meetings, offering his wisdom and experience to everyone who looked up to him. He never stopped drinking. One day he was completely hammered and went down to a meeting, tried to run it drunk. The group members were shocked and dismayed. They had looked up to him as an example. The meetings were closed and he was banned. Afterwards, he would mourn leading the group, saying his people needed him. I was disgusted by all that had come before, but when I heard that, I was finished. The level of deceit was mind-boggling. Story 10. My friend, we'll call him Jake, and I used to hang out with my friend's wife, let's call her Donna, a lot. Our friend Tom had dated and then married Donna very quickly, but we are a tight-knit group of friends, so we try to be as friendly as possible. We became pretty good friends, and because Donna, Jake, and I worked strange hours and we always had Mondays off, and hung out while Tom and all our other friends were working their usual 9-to-5 job. Donna would use this time to pour her guts out to us about problems with Tom, with her friends, family, everything. Jake and I listened because, well, what are friends for? We had many afternoon dinner meals where Donna would just rant and rave over the minuscule aspects of her life. It was fairly exhausting, but Jake and I tried to be good friends. Jake was going through some girl problems a little while later. I had taken some extra hours at my job, so I was missing from our usual lunch outing, so it was just Jake and Donna. He asked if I could get Donna's female perspective on his girl troubles, and she looked him right in the eye and said, "No, I don't want to listen to you." Jake was obviously shocked. He asked her to explain herself, and she started talking about how she didn't want to listen. She wasn't a good listener, usually doesn't listen when others talk, and she didn't care about his personal problems. Jake stopped hanging out with Donna and I on the following Mondays. After a few weeks, I asked why, and he told me she had flat out told him she didn't care about listening to anyone talk about their problems, and she just wanted to talk about her own. Soon after that, her personality quickly unraveled. She was a liar, manipulative, quick to act like your friend, but as shallow as a puddle. This one incident with Jake made me look at Donna in a new light and really reflected on her true colors. I try to stay amicable for the sake of my friendship with Tom, but to this day, I can't speak a sentence to her without thinking about how she's already not listening. I kept thinking this was going to end with Jake getting with Donna. How about you? Story 11. I was in a series of longish-term relationships before moving to a large city where I was then single for 4 years. Because of the nature of dating, my number shot up tremendously in that time. A friend of mine was in a 6-year relationship when I had a test result come back positive for Hep B. While I was waiting for the results to come back, she made an offhanded comment to me during a party in front of people, which was, "Well, that's what you get." I was absolutely floored. Not long after, I even went as far as to break down for her that dating someone for 2 or 3 months, sleeping with them, and then breaking it off can realistically happen 3 or 4 times a year, and your number goes up shockingly fast while still dating responsibly, in my honest opinion. Not only were my dating habits not a string of encounters and people who I barely knew, but it turns out that my test came back positive because I had Hep B antibodies. I likely had a vaccination for it when I was younger, and this doctor didn't have access to my pediatric records, so they wouldn't have known that. It had nothing to do with my intimate history. My vindication came when my friend's fiance broke up with her because she's a spoiled little priss pants and she got with at least 10 guys in the first year she was single. Ha! Story 12. Friends cheating on their significant others. But this is something where expectations are everything. Of my friends, there are a few that you would expect to find cheating on their girlfriends or boyfriends. I think everyone has one or two of those in their group of friends, people who you just accept as being a bad boyfriend or girlfriend. It's when one of the other more trustworthy friends does something stupid in their relationship that it affects the friendship. I know it seems a little unfair to hold them to higher standards, so I hope I'm not the only person who does this. My friend, B, a great guy whom I adore, is just a jerk boyfriend. He tries hard and he means well, but he's cultivated a lifetime of bad habits and a lack of self-discipline. Combine that with the fact that ladies fling themselves at him and you end up with someone who is romantically impossible. Recently, he straight up stopped talking to a girl he'd been seeing because another one swept him off his feet, and he was too cowardly to tell the first girl the truth. We admonished him for it, but it was a token gesture. That's just who he is. More's the pity for the girls who fall for him, and it didn't change any friendship dynamics. By contrast, I'm known in that group as the loyal, faithful wife with a great husband. All true, I'm happy to say. One of our friends just told me that I was the angel on her shoulder in a recent bout of temptation. She asked herself what I would do and removed herself from the situation. Another often tells me that I am her marriage role model, that I've restored some of her faith in it. Her parents had an exceptionally messy divorce. If I were to cheat on my husband, I'd be at serious risk of losing those two because they'd perceive it as a fundamental detrimental change in my character. Story 13. My best friend from high school was my lifeline. I'd grown up in a cruel household and wasn't allowed to have friends, take phone calls, or leave the house, so I was somewhat feral in social situations. She took me under her wing, introduced me to all her friends, and it was the first time in my life that someone actually treated me well. Of course, because of this, I was obsessed with her. I bought her things, did everything she wanted to do, and when I had to move away, I paid people to take me to see her. For 5 years. During that time, she had gotten pregnant and dropped out of school to live in the house of her boyfriend's mom. She had one job for 2 months in that entire time. She spent most of her time getting baked in the garage or pawning her kid off on her boyfriend's sisters so they could go party. When she told me that her mom was going to let them move in with her so they could really try to find a way to live on their own, I lost it. I broke down and told her how disgusted I was with how she had been living her life for the past 5 years, how sheltered and spoiled she was, and how I was the only one trying to stay in touch, etc. I never saw her again after that. I really, really hope that hearing it was a wake-up call and she actually did something with her life. Well, somebody had to say it. I'm glad this person had the guts to actually do it, as I'm sure everyone else just coddled her. Story 14. I was in a serious wreck and was hospitalized for a month when I was 19. During this time, I had given my 27-year-old sister my bills and debit card so she could pay them since I was unable to. My parents were too consumed with looking after me to be able to handle my finances at the time. She decided to help herself to about $1,000 of my hard-earned money that I'd saved up for college by working full-time, while I was bedridden in a hospital and unaware of whether I'd walk again. She might still be my sister, but I definitely don't consider her my friend anymore. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far in all these stories, I'm sure you're going to enjoy just as much. What's the crappiest way a friend has shown you they weren't really your friend? Story 4 was a definite eye-opener. I'll see you in that video, and thank you for watching this one.